Despite the fact that we don't really know too much about Metroid Prime 4, well, scratch that, we don't really know anything, there has been a popular theory circulating around about how Metroid Prime 4 will appear at the Game Awards. And I would like to point out that I made that video over a year ago. I might have been predicting that it would show up at the 2017 Game Awards, and maybe that didn't really come true at all. But I did at least pitch the idea of Metroid Prime and the Game Awards together, so yeah. No, but in all seriousness, we're going to talk about how likely it is that Metroid Prime 4 will be at the Game Awards this year, and I'm going to go over some recent evidence that even pushes that theory further. So make sure to like the video if you enjoy, check and make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and let's get into the video. So first things first, we need to really understand Nintendo's presence at the Game Awards. Well, basically, it's always been sort of more adult games. The games that they've shown off at the Game Awards are Bayonetta 1, 2, 3, The Legend of Zelda DLC Pack 2, The Champion's Ballad, which is a more adult thing, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which obviously looks like a kid's game, but that game is hard as nails and was definitely marketed towards adults. And same thing with Mario Maker. Obviously, it can be enjoyed by a kid, but it was more marketed towards adults with the whole nostalgia factor. So with that out of the way, it seems clear that Metroid Prime 4 would fit at the Game Awards. Obviously, Metroid, and therefore Metroid Prime, is one of Nintendo's most adult series, with the Metroid Primes even ranging on the border from T for teen to M for mature, which is just insane to think about for a Nintendo game. So obviously it would make sense, but not only that, Nintendo has been proven to like really announcing games in like a cinematic trailer that doesn't really give any details on the game itself, and then going into detail about it at the Game Awards. Case in point, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, where we got that original Guardian trailer, and then we got a Game Awards like 5-minute demo of Miyamoto and Aonuma playing through the game. I believe that they could do something like that for Metroid Prime 4, but instead of going from a cinematic trailer to a gameplay demo, I think they could go from an announcement to a cinematic trailer, leaving the gameplay demo for E3, and this is really what I want to talk about. Ever since the launch of the Switch, Nintendo hasn't had a game that they've announced. Ever since the launch of the Switch, Nintendo hasn't really delayed games. The only two I can think of are Fire Emblem and Yoshi, but Fire Emblem and Yoshi both have a long history of delays, and it's not like we got to play these games before they were delayed. They were always shrouded in mystery, which caused many to believe they were going to be delayed, so it wasn't a huge disappointment when they were. I believe that Metroid Prime 4 will actually be coming out in 2020. I just don't think there's room for it in 2019. So I think Nintendo should have a gameplay demo, like showing off it at E3, but it still wouldn't come out for over a year. That hasn't happened yet in the Switch's lifetime, and Reggie did state in an interview how he likes to have the game's announcement to release window be less than a year. But Metroid Prime 4 has already broken that, and we haven't seen anything more than a logo, so I think we're in for the long haul with this game. On top of that, in that same interview I just spoke of, Reggie stated that Metroid Prime 4 is pretty good into development. Now, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. He didn't even say something like this at E3. For E3, he just said they didn't have enough to show. That is very different from being well into development. Obviously, they didn't show anything off at E3 2018, so maybe they're planning on showing something off soon? It just doesn't really make sense for why he'd come out and say like, oh yeah, this is like something we're doing and it's pretty far in development, when he didn't even say that for E3. Maybe it's because they're about to show it off soon at the Game Awards. On top of that, that interview I've been referencing happened the same day the Game Awards announced their, nominees, so the timing would add up very nicely. On top of that, it came out recently that Sony was going to skip E3, and in this potential cinematic trailer of Metroid Prime 4 that we could get at the Game Awards, that would mean obviously we get a lot more info at E3 2019. And if Nintendo's main competitor, Sony, because remember Nintendo and Xbox are kind of friends now, is skipping out on E3, the largest video game themed event in the year, then you know Nintendo's going to want to bring a fire showing. On top of maybe Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion, Pokemon 2019, a Metroid Prime 4 gameplay trailer or first gameplay look would be absolutely insane, especially in a year where Sony's not even making a showcase. Because Metroid Prime's obviously one of Nintendo's most adult franchises, and Sony doesn't really make kids games or have like kids exclusives. At least very few of them anyway. So it would be great for Nintendo to be like, yeah, not only are we actually here at this E3, but we've got adult games too, like Metroid Prime 4, a game that gamers have been waiting for years for. I feel like that would be a great message for Nintendo to send, and it all starts with a cinematic trailer at this year's Game Awards. The pieces just seem to be aligning, and honestly, it just makes sense. I said the exact same thing last year, but hopefully this year I'm right. I think we will see Metroid Prime 4 at the Game Awards. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like the video if you did enjoy, and subscribe to the channel if you are not already for many more Nintendo theories just like this one. On top of that, I got a couple of good concept trailers and a brand new series coming soon, so make sure to hit the notification bell to actually get notified of that kind of stuff. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Thomas on the Switch Stop, signing off. Peace.